This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries, the best name in the RV and marine industry. These lithium batteries are designed and assembled in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. The best solution for your battery anxiety, so go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.
You are listening to Beyond the Wheel, a podcast about the people and ideas that drive the RV community forward.
Welcome to our first overseas interview with Jason and Rose, owners of Better For Your, a company that focuses on stainless steel drinkware. Sean and I both own a set of their mugs and love them for their lightweight yet strong design. Jason and Rose have put a serious amount of time and thought into their drinkware design, and it really shows. They walk us through the process of creating an Amazon FBA and why it is so important for their products to be environmentally friendly. They also tell us the story of their first American experience and how they fell in love with the RV community.
Hi, guys. Welcome to the show. Can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and the company Better For Your?
Sure thing. Hi, Sean. We're thrilled to be here. We're Jason and Rose from Better For Your, and we live on the west coast of Australia in a city called Perth, which is the capital city of Western Australia, and I'm an Australian by birth, and Jason's from New Zealand by birth. So, we met when we were pretty young. We got married when we were pretty young, and we had kids when we were pretty young. So we have two children. Josh, who's nearly 30, and Sam, who's coming up 28, and Stephanie, who's 24. So they live here in Perth with us as well. And, we love it over here. It's a fantastic place to live. And
I must say they don't all live at home.
No, they don't.
They moved out 2 years ago.
They do. Yes, they all moved out ages ago, actually. So, but we do see them. They live fairly close to us, and they're fantastic young people, and we feel really fortunate to live still in close to them and to see them. So that's a little bit about us, I guess. We Better For You. I'll let Jace probably talk about that, and just a bit about it.
Yeah, so we have a little company, Better For You, and we manufacture stainless steel drinkware. I think our first production was in December 2014.
15.
Okay. 15, yes. Sorry. 15, and we actually got to market. Our main channel is through Amazon, and so we launched that product on Amazon in about March 2016. Yes, get my years right. Yeah, just stayed in the drinkware game and with stainless steel, and that's sort of the short view of Better For You.
So the company itself is a little younger than I first realized. What made you guys decide to start a company? Do you have history in business? Did you guys own other companies in the past?
Yeah, so we have had a business in the past. It was related to my skill set. I'm an electrician. So when we were younger, Rose, my wife, she's from the country, and so when we had Josh, our oldest, coming, we decided to move to the country, the little town where Rose was raised. Her family's still there. She still had brothers farming there. And so we thought it'd be a great place to bring up kids, and it was. It was magic for them. They went to a tiny little school, 45-kid school out in the country where they farm wheat and barley and oats and raise sheep. That was the business we had, electrical business there. We ran it for about 12 years. Oh. When our kids were ready to go to high school, there was no high schools in the area, and all the farming kids tended to go to boarding school, and we decided we would prefer to have the kids come home every night, so we shifted actually up here to Perth. We have had a business, but the reason we started Better For You was, I think for a lot of people, Tim Ferriss is a common denominator.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 4-hour work week.
Very familiar, yes.
I had this ambition at some point. We knew that because we had our kids young, they would be leaving home when we were in our 40s to our late 40s, and so we would then have an opportunity to reshape our lives a little bit and go and do a lot of the things that our peers, our friends did in their 20s when we were raising babies, essentially. So we thought that it was time to start looking for a business, and we wanted a location-independent business, which Tim talks about in the 4-hour work week. And so I just kept a casual eye out and tried to find a business that seemed tangible and real and something you could scale over time. And a lot of, at that time, I probably read that book in about 2008 or 2009, just as it came out. And at that time, a lot of the online businesses were, things like affiliate marketing, and didn't seem to me to be like solid enough and tangible enough to really ignite a passion and something I wanted to build and scale. And so I just kept an eye on it. And then fortunately, podcasts came about, and a friend of ours recommended a particular podcast that talked about this ability to sell products via Amazon. And so then, I just went on this journey learning all about it and sharing that with Rose. Eventually, we decided that was a model that could work. What the plan was, it was always to be a plan over a few years to grow this business to a point where we can have location independent income and run it from anywhere in the world and set ourselves up so that we can, travel perpetually if we want to. And as our parents get older, if we want to help them out, we can also do that. It gives you a lot of choice in life. So that was the attraction. And then it was a case of finding what we want that business to look like. If we're going to sell physical products, what interests us and what do we believe in? Because if you're going to be immersed in something, which you are when you run a business, it's not, you don't go to work in the morning and come home at night and that's the end of your day. You're doing this evenings, mornings, weekends, it becomes a big part of your life. So our personal philosophy, Rose and mine, is that, we, particularly as we got older, I think, we wanted to do things that were sustainable. We feel that the amazing earth that we live on is under a bit of pressure that's been caused by people, by us. And so if we could have a product that people could buy and that would last a long time and they could get value from and they'd enjoy using, that would fit with something we could believe in. And when we're up late at night working on it or taking a phone call early in the morning, that, it's in your heart. So you feel like, hey, this is fine. We're not doing it just to make money. We actually believe in what we're doing. So from that, what can we do that aligns with that? And I happen to have a little stainless steel mug that had been part of a swag for a company I worked for. That company was ADC. It was an American company. They'd bought a German company in the communications sector. So the German company was Krone and the American company was ADC. And ADC did a lot of the fibre to the home rollouts for Verizon across the US.
Okay.
And I used to go to America once a year for a conference. And after our, a few days of conference, some of my work colleagues and I from Western Australia would hire an RV and do a little trip. One year we went down through Florida and down to Key West, and another time we went to the Grand Canyon, and another time we went from San Francisco into Yosemite. And so that's where my love for America grew, and your amazing national parks. All of that, getting back to how we found this mug, that was a swag item from that company, and I started using it and I loved it. I loved the fact that it was double walled and insulated. I loved the fact that it was stainless steel and durable, recyclable and so on. So that came into my head one day, and I said to Rose, well, how about we do stainless steel mugs, and so we decided we'd kick off with that. And it was really at a time where we'd actually invested in some training to find out more about the mechanics of not only selling on Amazon, but how to source products. And as I looked around, no one in the US made stainless steel drinkware in the US. It was all from China, a little bit from Thailand and some from India. So we went looking to China. We actually employed a guy in China full time. He still works for us. He's been working with us for over 3 years, and he helped us find a few factories. And then I got on a plane and went to China and went and met the factory owners and toured their factories and so on. And we placed our first order, which I think was something like 1,200 mugs, 1,200 sets, so 2,400 mugs. Yeah, and that's got the ball rolling.
So when you say that you placed your first order, so your first order, you didn't have buyers yet. Is that correct? You place the orders, and then once that order is filled, then you go through the selling process. Is that correct?
Yes. So we decided to sell on Amazon, obviously not living in the US. The beauty of the way Amazon, or fulfillment by Amazon, FBA as Amazon call it, works is that we select a product, we organise the manufacturer, we pay for it, we ship it at our cost, and then it arrives in Amazon, and then from there on, they warehouse it. They distribute it across their warehouses throughout various states of the US. People go to their platform, which you guys are very familiar with.
Yeah.
Select the product and purchase it. Amazon takes that payment and ships the product, and then over a certain period of time, we get regular payments for the residual. So Amazon keeps their warehousing fees, their shipping costs, and their margin, and then pay us the rest. And then with that, we buy our next lot of inventory and go again, So that's in a nutshell how that works, and that suited us. So, yeah, we didn't have buyers. It was a leap of faith in some ways, but we'd done research. We knew there was demand, and back then there wasn't too many people in the stainless steel cup game. There was probably 3 or 4 key brands, and then a few, just small numbers of sales. And so we thought there was, demand and room in the market. And we also, thought there was room for improvement as well.
How did you come up with the name? I'm curious, how does Better For Your fit into that whole sustainable and renewable sort of resource?
Yeah, well, it's always, anyone who's ever started a business will know that coming up with a name is quite difficult. You've got to try and find something that makes sense to what you're doing, and Jason's incredibly clever at being able to cast his eye well into the future. This is very visionary, and so we thrashed back and forth, I guess, and the word better just kept coming up. We just felt like that word aligned well with what we felt that we were trying to do in our own lives, to be better at the way that we try to live, with using as little single-use products as we can. We buy our food from bulk stores. We take our own bamboo cutlery everywhere we go. We take our own carry bags and our produce bags. So we sort of already were living like that, but we were always striving to do that better. So when the idea for business came about and the word better kept coming up, we were trying to work out how to make that an overarching sort of an umbrella name that was better for your coffee, better for your tea, better for your planet, better for your budget. So it became, I think we thought at the beginning that we were going to probably, stream off into all these different names, but of course the reality of running a business is that you're just so in it, doing it, that it just became the name, and now more and more people know about it, and it's just sort of stopped there. But when we use it in a sentence, it just makes sense, because we can make it flow in our description on Amazon and our bullets and our website and Facebook and all those things. And so I guess that's sort of how that came about. It was really just sort of a brainwave of Jason's, I think.
and it was also, as anyone who's registered a domain in the last few years knows, make sure you can get a domain name. So, I guess in all honesty, our first choice would have been Better For You, because that is concise and sort of doesn't have that connotation of what's next in some ways, but that was gone. And so then Better For Your is, as Rose said, you can attach one more word or 2 more words to that, and it can describe things. So, that's how we settled on that name.
I just want to go back to what you said about coming over here for conferences and then taking a few days to travel, either renting an RV or a car. You've probably seen more of the United States than a lot of people that are from the United States.
Look, we've become immersed in the RV community via Heath and Alyssa Paget's RV Entrepreneur Group. I actually stumbled across Heath when he was just writing his blog, when they'd just been married and they were doing their tour of 50 states. He was getting a job in 50 states and what became their documentary. Yeah, because I have this passion for RVs and travel. I found his blog and I commented on a few of his things and so on. And then when he started his Facebook group for RV entrepreneurs, it was a natural fit for us because we have that interest in RVing and we had this business already. And so I think I was around 460-odd person to join his Facebook group, and now that's grown huge, and we've loved following their journey. And through that, we can see that, that group of people travel a lot.
Yeah.
But also, I know from the time I've spent in the US, a lot of people don't. Or if they do have an RV, they might only travel within their own state or adjoining states. So, yeah, it's been a real privilege to do a bit of travel through the US and it is an amazing country, you know.
Sure is.
It's no wonder that the pioneers, you know, as they discovered new territories and states, they were amazed with what they
Beautiful
found.
it was,
Yeah.
I still haven't seen Yellowstone. I still haven't seen the Grand Canyon. So you guys are doing better than me.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, we were lucky enough to water raft down the Grand Canyon back in 2014.
I'll tell you a bit of a story about that. You can decide whether to leave it in or not. One of the things that we hold dear is trying to minimise our use of single-use plastic. Plastic is a wonderful material to use for durable items and for things where it fulfills a need. You know, the medical profession uses a lot of plastic for really great things, and we couldn't have the wiring in our homes and RVs without plastic and so on. So has a lot of uses, but because it's so cheap to make and so malleable and so easy to turn into a product, a lot of it gets wasted, you know. And one of the things that as we get out into our own national parks here in Australia and do a little bit of hiking, and the hiking we've done in various national parks in the US, is that you tend to see trash. You know, you see it in the cities on the side of the road, but then you go out in nature and you're seeing trash as well. And I think there's a core of people, hopefully a growing core of people, that follow the philosophy that you take out what you take in. And Rose and I were really fortunate to raft through the Grand Canyon in 2014 for 12 nights, 13 days. We went with this amazing company called Arizona River Runners. If you ever want to do that trip, we can highly recommend them. The amazing thing about that trip, like, it's 225 river miles over that period of time, and we did not see one piece of trash, not one sweet wrapper, nothing, because the stewardship that those 16 companies that had the permits to commercial raft the Grand Canyon and all the private trips that get to go each year. I think they cap it at about 30,000 people that can raft through each year. They're so conscious of leaving that place pristine that it is, you know, and so that sort of proved to us that it can be done.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
it was inspiring, actually.
It was.
Absolutely incredible. Halfway around the world to see the sort of stewardship that we didn't think existed.
Right. Yeah, that's incredible.
The guides on those trips are such passionate people. They love it. We had a couple of guys on our trip that have been guiding trips through the Grand Canyon since the early 70s. One guy 1971, the other guy 1973, I think. And,
wow.
You know, that's love for your country. That's love for that magnificent
for that
place.
River, for the Colorado River.
And Kenny, I've got to say, whenever you get the opportunity, get there and have a look and try and spend some time. You know, go on some hikes and if you get the opportunity to raft it, I would put that in top 5 highlights of our life. You know, you can throw our wedding and the birth of our 3 kids into that top 5.
Pretty close fourth. Yeah, it was for me. I'm come from a country background, and just the wide open spaces. My father is an incredibly knowledgeable man about Australian flora and fauna. So I grew up with that appreciation for the things that where we lived and looking after the farm that we had and how precious it was. And when you're producing crops and stock and, I saw the stewardship of my parents, I suppose, and my uncle and auntie, my grandparents and all those things. So I guess I kind of already understood that. It was already in my DNA to feel close association with the land. And going across for this trip, it was actually our second go at getting on this trip, because the first year, in October 2013, we got caught up in the government shutdown. We just got to the States, and we just got to San Francisco, and because we decided to go up that way and get a car and head to Yosemite and make our way through, and then get down to Vegas and then head across to join up with the Arizona River Runners. They were going to pick us up from a hotel in Vegas, and off we were going to go. And it was just literally like the proverbial clanging shut of every single possible thing to do with the state and national parks, as you guys know. So we were kind of just these, wet behind the ears Aussies who didn't really kind of understand what goes on with that kind of thing. So we got a pretty quick sort of political upskilling on what goes on when there's a government shutdown.
Yeah.
But it didn't just go for a day or two. It went on and on and on. And so by the time we got to when the Arizona River Runners had to call it, whether they could take us or not, they had to cancel it. And then 5 hours later, the governor of that state opened up the park.
Wow.
So we missed out. We went 11,000 miles to miss out by 5 hours.
Wow.
Wow.
Which sounds a bit melodramatic. And we were, at the time, we were just, what are we going to do? We were supposed to be on the river for 2 weeks. We were from Australia. We couldn't just go home easily.
Yeah.
And when we had a week booked in LA after the trip, so we were like, do we go home? Do we stay? But, of course, we were fine. We were much more concerned about the people who were not getting paid.
Yeah.
We were fine. We were safe, and we were, so our families were like, what are you going to do? And we were like, we're okay. We had the choice to do some things, but we were very distressed about what we heard about how people's pay just stopped. So we learned a lot about what that meant. So that was interesting from an Australian perspective to look in, So Jason, as you said earlier, had been on an RV trip with some mates, and so he said, look, we're in Vegas. He said, look, how about I ring, which company was it?
I think it was Cruise America.
Cruise America.
Yeah.
This is Friday, so we're supposed to be getting picked up the next day, I think it was, to go and the Monday was supposed to be picked up. So we had a weekend to sort of work out what we were going to do. So he rang them up, and they had a little, 23-footer or 25-footer.
Class C, yeah.
And I had never been in an RV, and I have to admit that I was a little bit dubious about what it was about. I'm from a farm, so, it's like a truck, you just take it from here to there, and didn't really appreciate it. So we flew down to this place on the next day, got the booking, and because the governor of that state had opened up the park, so then we had bookings at El Chorvo restaurant, we had bookings already made, so then they said, well, we'll honour those. So we rang ahead to say.
We rang the Grand Canyon, and because we had the booking for the Saturday night and the Sunday night, and then the rafting trip was supposed to start on Monday.
Yeah,
so because the governor of Arizona opened that Friday night and we could get the booking for the RV, we said, right, we're going to try and get there in time for this evening meal. It was our big splurge, staying at El Tabor on the rim of the south rim is not cheap.
We booked this 12 months before. It wasn't just on a whim. So we literally got to the place. We couldn't get a booking till 1 o'clock. And, you guys know it takes time. Well, we had nothing. We had nothing apart from our bags. We just had to get in and do the quick thing and get to Trader Joe's and get some food. And then Jason just drove like...
I was doing 85 miles an hour in this Class C.
Wow.
Heading towards the Grand Canyon just to try and make
this 7 o'clock booking all the way around the South Rim. And I'd never been in an RV in my life. So, and your roads have these gaps in the cement. I don't know what it is. Concrete. We don't have that over here. It's sort of smooth. You can go, well, you can't go as fast as you like, people do, but, So flying along, and I remember going, clunk, 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 dropping so fast. And I'm having a heart attack because I'm more Navy than pirate. I don't like speeding, so I'm like, and the GPS kept going off and screaming at us because we were speeding, and I had a heart attack.
Unfortunately, I've driven trucks, not for a living, but at various times, and I have a license to drive a truck. So driving the RV was second nature to me. There was no problem there. And I kept saying to Ross, as long as the rest of the traffic is going the same speed or faster than us, it's no problem,
Okay.
Here in Australia, speed's highly regulated. So we're talking kilometres now. We have a 110 kilometre limit, which I don't know is probably about 75, 80 miles an hour. And so anyway, we proved that a 25-foot Class C can sustain 85 miles an hour.
Nothing fell off, but everything was rattling. I remember the noise, it was just insane. So,
oh, yeah.
So my first introduction to RV life was just hanging on for grim death. So we rang up and said we're going to be an hour late, and there was no one there because the place had been closed for 12 hours. So 12 days, sorry. Yeah. The place had been closed for 12 hours and 12 days, sorry.
Mm-hmm. I think it was more it was because we got into San Francisco. We basically did a road trip for about 10 days. We went through Yosemite, through Death Valley, and ended up in Vegas. So I think, it was 10 days before and then a couple more days. So it's probably been going for close to 15 days by then.
So they've been just doing rolling, people have been going home, coming back, and the place was, they've been spit and polishing it that whole time, and all the wildlife had moved back in. So we went, no people, but there was just every type of deer and everything. It just moved back into the whole village. It was extraordinary. We were one of the only like 2 or 3 people in the restaurant. It should have been packed to the gunnels, and we were the only ones there. And they were so thrilled to see us, and they nearly died when they found out we'd come from Australia. So we had the booking at the park, and I don't know, we got to about day 2 or 3, and by now we'd got moving again, and all of a sudden the penny dropped about what all the fuss about an RV is, and we were driving along, and we'd pull over, and I'd boil the kettle, and we'd have a cup of tea, and then if you need to, you could go to the bathroom, and you pull over, and you could sleep, and it was like something smacked me right between the eyes. Like, I just didn't get it. I didn't get what the fuss was, and so that was how. Not that Jason had anything to do with the government shutdown, but it was a brilliant way to get his wife into an RV, I got to say. So. It was an amazing sort of serendipity. And then, of course, we did all that, and then the following year we came back, and all those things that we had to cancel were honoured. So Yosemite, we stayed down in the village, I can't think what it's called now, down at the bottom of Yosemite Valley, and went through, and everything that we cancelled the 12 months before, and then we got to go onto the Grand Canyon, and then that was another soul-shifting experience for me, going through the canyon and understanding what Jace was talking about as far as going to the parks and in national parks and just getting out there in it, and came out the other side. And I actually don't think I was the same person when I came out of the Grand Canyon as I was when I went in. Something happened to me in that 2-week period. You're off the grid, no phones, just you and the group you're with, and you're entirely dependent on the people that are looking after you, who were Arizona River runners were exemplary. But, yeah, it is an ancient land, and I know that Australia is too, but I think there's something about the Grand Canyon that is so, it's a very spiritual and mystical place. So I think that for me was where I suddenly understood what Jace really meant about, how we're going to have to no one's going to bring that stuff to our back door. We've got to get out of our own way, and how can we be location independent? That was how can we get to see this stuff while we've still got the energy and the wherewithal and the health to go and really look at this stuff. Some of these hikes are pretty arduous, and most people wait till they're 65, now it's 70.
Yeah.
And then you get there and one of you might be gone, by then. We don't know what's going to happen to us. So there's that. And we're getting a bit older now, so now our parents are ageing and we're seeing what that looks like, and you suddenly sort of see life through different eyes, I think. So, yeah, that was our funny kind of story about how Jace got me in an RV, how we got to the Grand Canyon, and just how this kind of all just connected up, like join the last dots, What are the dots? What are our dots? How can we join them up to make something that means something to us? And
Kenny and I both have your cups, and they're light, they're insulated, they're durable. I was really skeptical about them keeping the heat when I first started using it, but the drinks actually do stay hot in those cups. So how many design changes did you have to go through in order to get that cup just the way you wanted it?
I guess the basic design, that idea of double wall stainless steel with an air gap to provide some insulation is not new. As I said, the first time I saw one, that cup now is probably at least 15, if not 20 years old. So that part of it was established. I guess the initial changes that we wanted to make to improve how the experience of using it was to largely aesthetic initially and a little bit of practical consideration. So when I got to China and started visiting the factories, I've got to say that's an amazing experience too. China's very interesting place, and I really enjoy going there. So you go to these factories and you talk to the salespeople or the factory owners, depending on the size of the factory, and they vary in size, the factories. They were showing us these mugs, and they all had round handles made out of hollow tube. And there's 2 types of normal polish that you get on stainless steel drinkware. One is a highly glossy finish, and that's the style of that first mug I saw from the company I worked with. That was a highly glossy finish, like a mirror finish. And that polish is actually easier to do than a brush finish. And when I say easier, on the outside of the mug where you've got detail to work around, which is the handle, the handle gets in the way of the polish. So that polish is actually done with a series of machines. They're rotating buffing wheels and they use polishing compound. With the mirror finish, you can put the cup against that wheel in any direction, and it'll just end up smooth and universal, uniform finish. with a brush finish, which most stainless steel appliances are and people are used to seeing, and both styles show fingerprints a little bit, but brush tends to do that less.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get those buffing wheels close to the handle. You know, the diameter of the buffing wheel prevents it from getting up close. So every factory I went to, you would see this nice linear brush finish, which would be horizontal to the cup, you know, running around the cup, the brush lines running around the cup. And then at the handle, it got messy. You know, they would turn the cup sideways to reach in. And so there was these vertical lines about, you know, 3/4 of an inch to an inch either side of the handle. And straight away I thought, well, you know, that doesn't look as good as it could. And I was talking to them, the factory owners and the engineers, and isn't there another way of doing this? And they, no. And no matter where I went, it was all the same. And when we placed that first order, that's how our first batch was, you know, and we weren't overly happy with that. But at the same time, we wanted to get the business started and make progress. And sometimes you just got to start, you know, you got to start when things aren't perfect. So we focused on the things we could control. So the inside of the cup was traditionally a brush finish also, because that's cheaper to do. You know, it takes more energy to do a mirror finish on the inside because you haven't got the ability to hold the brush up against the wheel. You've actually got to put a small diameter polishing brush inside the cup. And because it's smaller diameter, it takes more horsepower from the motors that drive it and more skill from the people who are using it. And the reason that having the mirror polished inside is good is it's easier to clean. You know, we have used both brushed inside and polished inside, you know, while we're doing our market research. And when you've got brushed inside, it tends to retain coffee stains and tea stains more readily, and it's just harder to clean. So we wanted polished inside. So from our very first batch, you know, we decided to spend the extra in production and get that mirror polish. Another interesting thing I discovered when I was in China was we wanted our stainless steel to be 304, which is the same as 18.8. Like 304 stainless steel is the international grade, recognised way of talking about certain quality of stainless steel that is rust resistant. And then there's another grade of stainless steel, which is 210. And 210 is a lot less rust resistant, but it's cheaper. And so when I go to these factories, you'd have to ask them, you know, what's this cup made out of? Because you can't necessarily tell just by looking at it. And so they would say, oh, this is 210 or it's 304 on the inside and 210 on the outside because they wanted to save a little bit of money. Once again, it was a very logical thing for us. We want to build a durable product. We're going to go 304 the whole way. And then we'd actually gone through the process of writing the contract you do to place the order. It said 304 and stainless steel. And something just popped into my head at the last minute. And I spoke to David, our guy in China, and I said, can you double check with the factory that the handle is 304? And they said, oh, no, it's 210. Because, you know, this was part of the learning curve. We hadn't specified it. So they just did what was least cost.
Yeah.
And, you know, you sort of think, well, you know, Chinese goods, sometimes people think, they just can be cheap. But really, you can imagine the competition in China. There's a lot of people, a lot of factories, and it doesn't matter whether it's a Chinese company looking for a product or an Australian company or a US company. It doesn't matter where you're from. There's a lot of initial choice, and you've got to do your homework and do your research and find production partners that you're happy with how they do business. And then because there's that much competition, they tend to offer you their cheapest version first because they know that the other factories are offering their cheapest version first. We're not about the cheapest, we're about the best we can do. So it was a good thing to catch at the time. So from our very first mug, it's been 100% 304 stainless steel. This polish problem kept bugging me, and on Amazon, as you know, you get reviews, and we had a few people comment on the finish, and we would reply back to them and say, hey, you know, look, we recognise that we're working on it. I went back to China and met again with the factory that was producing our mugs for us and just brainstormed, and we worked out a way, and what we actually ended up doing was paying more, and they literally hand polish around each handle.
Wow.
So they set up a production line with half a dozen people, and each mug goes into a jig and they hand polish to get that continuity of brush finish. And The interesting thing is that we've been, even though we're relatively young, we've been leaders in this market with stainless steel mugs, because what we've seen is not all, but some of our competitors, if you want to call them that, other brands, have lifted their game. They've seen that we've found ways of improving it. They've improved too, And so in that respect, competition is a good thing for the consumer, because you end up with a better product. And back when we started, you either bought a mug that was mirror polish inside and outside, or you bought a mug that was brush finish inside and outside. And we started making mirror polish inside and brushed outside, and now other brands are doing the same, So I guess you can't avoid being copied in when you're in a market, but it improves things for everybody who buys products, because they end up with a better product. That was part of the early development. And then another little thing was what we call mouthfeel. So the radius of the rim inside the cup, and you might pick up 2 cups and not take much notice, but when you think about it and you are immersed in the how can I make this better, the degree of radius and whether it's, abrupt change from the slope of the rim down to the inner wall, or whether it's a nice curve, makes a difference. So we worked on that, and I lost count of how many times I tried all different ceramic cups and glass cups and stainless steel cups, and to find something that was consistently comfortable. And Rose would try it, and our kids would try it, and we go, oh, we like this one, and then I would take that, measure it, put it on the drawing and send it to the factory, and we'd make that change. And then the last change we made, and probably the most significant change, was the handle, because right from the start, these mugs have all had round handles because it's cost effective to make, and doing any other shape in stainless steel is actually quite technically difficult. When you bend a round tube, it tends to hold its shape, the forces are equal. But when you try and bend something that's oval, if it's hollow, it tends to collapse in on itself a little bit on the long side. Oh. And it is possible to bend oval stainless steel, but it's very expensive machinery to do it, and it's quite slow to produce. So once again, went back to China, and we work with a factory. It's owned by a wonderful family, mum and dad, and they have one son, and so the owner of the factory is a tool maker by trade, so he has a lot of skill. We just kept brainstorming ideas, and I said, we've got to find a way to do this. We've got to make it better. And so we did. We came up with a solution, and we actually had that prior to the first RV summit we went to, which was 2018, which was the second summit that Heath and Alyssa Paget put on for RV entrepreneurs. We made the mugs just prior to that. We airshipped some to the summit. We sponsored that summit. Heath and Alyssa sent us their logo, and we adapted it so it would look good with the laser engraving we do. And we flew those to summit because it was a perfect opportunity to have that new handle design road tested by 250 RVers, And we loved sponsoring it for Heath and Alyssa. We really admire what they do. We found our tribe there. We love the people that RVers who are entrepreneurs that went to that summit. So it was a great opportunity. So by the time we sea freighted the rest of that shipment and got it for sale on Amazon, we were already getting feedback, from people on the road about the user experience, and that was an awesome opportunity for us to validate it. And fortunately, we got it right the first time, which is it doesn't always happen, When we first started with our mugs, another thing that every manufacturer was doing was they were bronzing the handles on. So the method of attaching the handle is by bronzing, where you apply heat from essentially a gas torch and use a bronze filler rod to attach. That's an ancient welding method. And most of the time, almost all the time, it works well. But we did have a couple of instances where the handles detached themselves, and that wasn't acceptable to us. And so fortunately, laser welding became viable at about the same time. It's been around for many years before that, but on the scale we're talking about with high volume manufacture, So we moved to laser welding even with our round handle mugs. And so by the time we come up with our oval handle mug, we had that technology available, which was another enabler for us to move the oval handle mug. And so they've been the developments with that mug. We've sort of taken that knowledge and moved to other products since then.
Yeah. Jason, was it a comfort reason to switch from a round to the oval shape? What was the reason for the changing of the shape of the handle?
Yeah, definitely comfort. The user experience, that's really important. Rose and I we sometimes joke and wonder how many cups of tea we've shared together, over the years. And
30 years.
And you have some really wonderful times sharing a drink of any sort, whether it's a cold drink or a hot drink, coffee, tea, a beer, whatever. For us, our default drink is tea. So we've made some really important decisions over the years with cups in our hands, drinking tea. And, having the best cup we can produce was important. And once again, that review feedback from Amazon was validated that, It wasn't a high percentage, but we were getting regular feedback, people saying, I love the mug, but handles, it's only just okay, because people are used to ceramic cups, the feel of a handle on a ceramic cup. So that was the driver. And also it gives more finger room, with a round handle, it's only maybe a bit over a quarter of an inch, or a little bit bigger diameter, but it takes room up on the cup because you've only got a certain height where the handle looks aesthetically pleasing, looks like a traditional cup. So, there was a few drivers, but it's all around the enjoyment of using the cup.
I didn't realize cups were so complicated.
Sean, man, you keep on taking my line, Sean. I was going to say the same exact thing because I'm looking at the cup and you wouldn't think that all this thought, went into it. I mean, it is an amazing cup. I love, we've had your cups for a little over a year now, and this is the only version I know. So it's always been comfortable. And that's why I asked about the round shaped mug, but I've always enjoyed the mug, but now I enjoy it even more knowing just how much thought went into it.
Yeah, we there's a
very serious business.
Yeah, it really is. No, I've always, so the first thing that I always liked about the mugs were that I am very destructive and this takes punishment. I mean, it's able to handle, everything that I throw at it. I think this will probably be the last mug I ever need to purchase. Like, I think it'll, I'll die with this mug in a sense. It's that strong, but it's also incredibly light. It doesn't take up weight, and in an RV and everything, that's really important. But I had no idea that much thought process went into, like, when you're talking about the curvature for your mouth, when you rest your mouth on it to take a sip and everything, it really does make you appreciate it even more.
And Jason is the R&D part. He absolutely loves the research and development. It's where you just see that he gets that twinkle in his eye, and you just see him, and he's constantly thinking. I mean, even with what we have now, which we're so proud of, we're always and listening to what people are telling us, because your customers they're absolutely worth their weight in gold. The cups, I guess, for me, symbolise, family and gathering and it can be laughing and it can be over, there can be tears, there can be so many things. And I suppose we feel so privileged to think that our little mug could be in amongst those precious times in people's lives. And it probably sounds a little bit emotional, but for me, that's having understood how it's time to rest. When you sit and you hold something in your hand. Life is so frantic these days, and people are so busy, and a lot of people are pretty stressed. If you can just sit and just have something in your hand that you can hold on with your hand and you can hang on to it, and it includes people who are a bit older and have trouble with holding on to things. That was another consideration too, people with arthritis and, people who have other sort of different things they're dealing with. And, we've had lots of people tell us over the years that they're fantastic, that their grandparents love them because they're light. Yeah. And they hark back to the old days. They're very sort of traditional looking. So that's been lovely too. But it's a very emotional thing for me too. I think Jason and I have that good balance of the different sides of things that you need to be able to try and get your message across to people about how do you describe what these mugs are like. It's just a mug. How do you tell people how do you tell them what it's like? It just holds things, but that's the biggest challenge, especially with Amazon, because people can't hold our product in their hand. We have to try and describe to them what they're going to get, and then when they get it, it has to match up with what we've said, with honesty and integrity. It has to be the same experience, because anyone who buys things on Amazon and comes and it's not what they thought, they're disappointed, and well, rightly so. So that's a really big, important thing for us too, customer service, looking after that's why we have a lifetime warranty, because we offer that to people, because we believe in this product so much that we will continue for the entire life that you have this. And this could well outlast some people. We will keep looking after people, and if anything happens to it, we will replace it. So that's why we do that. Yeah.
And things do happen. Manufacturing thousands and thousands of an item at a time. We, as I said earlier, we employ David full time. He works as our quality manager now more than sourcing, because we are really happy with our manufacturing partner in China. So his key role now is quality. But even then, when we're at the end of production and we're packing, it happens really quickly. That part, the packing part, happens quickly, and we do our level best. And one of the pivots we're doing at the moment is just rejigging how that process in China to actually slow down that part of the process so we can do an even deeper dive into quality. But essentially, sometimes defects do get through, where there might be a weld. So the inner and outer wall is welded using the same system that they use to make food manufacturing equipment, so it's a TIG weld, very safe weld as far as the process is just essentially fusing the two metals together, or the two layers, the 304 inner and outer wall. One, I don't know what the stats are, but, maybe 1 in 1,000, 1 in 2,000 may have a defect, and out of those, maybe half of those don't get caught. Occasionally we do have people say, hey, we've received this and something's not right. We fix that straight away, and we do it in the way that's the least inconvenient for the customer. So it's our responsibility to deliver what we promise to deliver, and if that doesn't happen, then we'll fix it. We are really passionate about customer happiness. We love our customers to be happy, and that's where our growth comes from. If we have happy customers and they tell people in the next RV that, hey, these mugs are great, then that's important. And the durability, like Kenny was saying, we would love nothing more than these mugs to be around in several decades' time, So
pass them down to your grandkids.
Yeah, that's it.
And they will be, because this mug, that's over a year old is just as new today as it was last year. There's nothing. I mean, it might have a scratch on it, but I think it would actually, I don't know, that'll rub off. So, I mean, I can't even, they're not even like, they don't get dent, they don't get scratched. It literally looks brand new. It looks like it, just as I took it out of the box last year. They are amazing mugs. I can't say enough good things about them. I'm looking at it now, and you were talking about the welding. So that's not even something I really think about, with it being a double wall with the air in between there. So I guess people can't see this, but I guess the cup the metal is folded around itself, and then it's welded and then sanded down so perfectly smooth. I mean, you can only even see a seam in it.
Yeah. So one of the amazing characteristics about stainless steel is that you can, if you're skilled, you can weld two pieces together and grind it down and buff it and polish it, and the joint is seamless. If you've ever been into a commercial kitchen, where they have long benches with sinks moulded in, that's been made out of multiple pieces of stainless steel, but it's all seamless.
So now I have to ask you, I guess the seams probably wind up in the same spot every time. So is the seam at the top of the cup where you're drinking, or is the seam at the bottom of the mug? Because I can't tell.
Yeah, it's at the top. So
it is at the top. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's actually 22 separate processes that happen to manufacture this mug. Some of those processes around forming the inner and outer wall. So they start as a big roll of flat stainless steel, and then the first machine will punch discs, round pieces of stainless steel, 2 different sizes for the inner and outer wall. And then those flat discs get put in a series of moulding machines, presses that come down, and the first press just makes it into a little bit of a bowl shape, and then the next press will make those folds a little bit tighter until you end up with the final shape, which is the inner wall looks just as you see it in the mug.
Okay.
And that beautiful rounded rim is part of that inner wall press. And then it's made a little bit wider than the final diameter of the outside of the cup. And then the outside wall has a straight edge at the top. And then that folded inner wall gets welded to the outer wall, and then that all gets ground and polished and disappears.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, I'm looking at it as you're describing it. I can kind of picture it. I bet you it's kind of cool to watch.
It is.
It is cool to watch.
I took Rose for the first time last year to China, to the factory, and you might like to talk about that.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, Jason had taken photos and shown me, had a rough, fairly good idea of what went on. And we got to see, the role of stainless steel and then walk through the entire process as it was happening. And there were just, this particular factory makes lots of mugs for lots of other people and companies all around the world. So I've never seen so many mugs in my life. It was just almost overwhelming. It was incredible. And, we were just sort of meandered our way right through to where, they were packing them. And, so we got to see the guys that were doing the welding and the polishing and the buffing and just I walked out with my eyes just like wide open, just with this deep appreciation for these amazingly skilled people who sit there day in, day out and do this over and over again. And that's clearly why they're so good at it. But even so, just, they're incredibly, they were happy to, we had obviously had David to interpret for us, but we were taken through and, we're able to at least sort of smile and wave at these amazing people and try to convey our thanks for what they do. And they're I'm pretty amazed when Australians turn up. You can imagine they don't see very many Aussies in China, especially way out where we were. They appreciate when you go out there and just get your head around what goes on, because then when you're talking to the people that you're dealing with, you can understand a bit more about what they're going through to try and deliver the product to you.
Yeah.
And there's things you're dealing with that we have no clue about, and so it's meeting each other in the middle. With any kind of relationship in business has to be about that. Everyone's got to be willing to go 100%, don't they? Not even 50-50. Everyone's got to be willing to go that bit extra. And sitting down with our factory manager and chatting to him through David. I've never done that before. Just having your English interpreted into Mandarin, and then and you're sitting and waiting, and that gentleman's sitting and waiting, and David's flat out in the middle trying. Just that. It was such a privilege. Oh wow! I came home just going, wow, what an incredible country, and it was pretty cool. So that was a bit more about how that all comes about.
I think that's great that you guys are that hands-on, and I think it definitely shows in the final product.
The design, it's lightweight, it's durable, like Kenny said, and it's sustainable. It's perfect for campers and RVers. Was that always a target market of yours going into it, or was RVers not even on your radar? It just happened to fall in place, like you had said earlier.
Yeah, look, it was a little bit of both of those things. So we didn't make it exclusively for the RV camping market, but we were certainly aware of how durable it is and the advantages of the lightweight. So, we did certainly have campers and RVers in mind. But I guess over the journey, the fact that we have this interest in the RV community, and, we love getting out there ourselves. And so a lot of our direction for our marketing is aligned with that. We have had the privilege to work with some amazing people who appreciate our product. And Kenny and Sabrina, we met Kenny, Sabrina at last year 2018 Summit, and we spent some time with them, and so we followed their journey, and there's other people that we've done the same with, and it's presented opportunities to do mutually beneficial promotion, where we can provide some product for them to help them grow their brand. At the same time, gives us exposure as well. So, that alignment sits well with us, that RV and camping space, and probably to a lesser extent hiking. It is relatively lightweight. It depends what sort of hiker you are. I follow a magnificent lady who does solo through hikes, the big ones, the Appalachian Trail and so on, and she wouldn't take a mug with her because she cuts the handle off her toothbrush, to get the weight down.
Wow.
But for people like us who are day hikers, we do take our mugs, and we take a thermos with hot water so we can sit somewhere with an amazing view and have a cup of tea and just soak in that beautiful landscape, So it does fit that well. And I guess too, when we talk about product development and also the type of products, we've never tried to be in the travel mug space specifically. So to quickly explain the difference, our mugs are double wall, they have air insulation. So when we do that final weld, the air is trapped between the two walls, and air in a trapped environment has quite good insulating properties. Mm-hmm. There's a second method of improving that insulation, which is what is vacuum insulated. So they actually put a little valve in the base of the outer wall of the mug, and they literally suck the air out. And by creating that vacuum, it has even better insulating properties. The advantage of that is, yes, it will keep your beverage hotter for longer than these will. So it's sort of on a scale. If you look at a normal ceramic mug that you will just buy from Walmart, it'll hold the same liquid, but when you pour that liquid in, a lot of that heat gets transferred to the ceramic body of the mug. It's a heavy mug. Yep. And so that heat energy goes to warm the mug up, whereas these mugs being lightweight, it takes a lot less heat out of the drink initially to heat that inner wall stainless steel up, because it's thin, relatively thin. So that's one of the ways that it keeps your drink hotter, and then the air insulation helps to keep it hotter, whereas a vacuum mug has that vacuum. So the disadvantage with a vacuum mug, and the reason we couldn't offer that with a lifetime warranty we're comfortable with, is that those valves being a mechanically closed system, and then they have to be sealed or covered, and you're using some sort of sealant with chemicals in it to provide that seal, and a lot of them will have a disc on the bottom that it's glued on, so once again it's a chemical. So that didn't align with our chemical-free brand, but also when you place that in a dishwasher and you put it through heating cycles, those valves can fail over time.
Yeah.
So we made a very purposeful decision to be in double wall air insulated rather than vacuum insulated, and to be in a style of drinkware where you use it as you would traditional drinkware, be that ceramic or glass or plastic, where you take it out of the cupboard and you pour your drink in and you drink, enjoy your drink, and then you might have another one or several others, and then you wash it and put it away. Whereas travel mug has a lid, has extra insulation. You fill it up and you take it with you, and you expect it to be hot for several hours. So, and that's been part of the challenge with getting our messaging right, for people to understand that, hey, it's hotter for a bit longer than a ceramic mug, but don't expect a travel mug that will stay hot for hours.
Another market that I thought of when I got your mug last year at the RVE Summit was the military. I spent a lot of time in the military, and a lot of people, when they go out on deployments or we're going out to the field, they call it, they always bring a mug with them because they don't want to use the little dinky plastic or styrofoam mugs or cups that you would get. So a lot of people carry their own mug, and this is really a perfect solution for them too, because it's lightweight, it's not very big, and it's durable. I mean, you can bang it up and it's still going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to say that, because we've gotten to know a family from North Carolina, and they have a couple of online businesses, and they offered to help us out in the early days. We're getting established, and sometimes when you do get products returned and the customer said, I've got a quality issue, we wanted to get hold of those products to assess so we could improve. They kindly agreed to be the place we could send these products, and then we could collect them and able to have access to them. What they did with sometimes when you get products returned from Amazon, they're actually perfectly fine. People have just changed their minds and returned them. We don't like Amazon to put those products back into stock, because we'd like to know that every single product that's shipped out is a new one. Now, unfortunately, Amazon doesn't give us full control of that every time. So from time to time, people do get a product that's been put back on the shelf, but we always sort that out when it happens. But so that family were involved in a program to collect goods, care packages, and send them to the forces in Afghanistan and Iraq. I think it might have been Iraq at the time, sorry. So we have a photo we treasure of one of the young man using our mug in just that situation. You know, he sent back a photo saying, "I love this mug," you know.
Yeah.
And, so we love the diversity of where people use these mugs.
So the cups are made from only stainless steel, no rubber, no plastic. Why was it so important for you guys to use a product like this or create a product like this only using stainless steel and no other materials?
I think our own personal way that we live our lives, where we are trying to have less reliance on plastic products, particularly the ones that are single use. So that's been something that we've always inherently felt ourselves. We know that there's a lot of research going on about just what happens when you put hot substances against plastic, what chemical reactions are going on, what's being leached into the fluid or the food, the food products. So we've always been sort of aware of the whole concept of endocrine disruptors. And
I'll tell you how I found out about that. You know, the magazine, the Reader's Digest.
Yeah.
So we've had that in Australia for many, many years. We grew up with it. And Rose's mum actually used to buy us a subscription every year for Christmas. And we would get the Reader's Digest magazine. And one of the articles in there actually spoke about how these two lots of research groups, one, I think it was in the UK and one in somewhere, it might have been South America. It's a long time ago I read it. They were studying fish and in rivers. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but certain species of fish actually will change from, I can't remember which way around, so either female to male or male to female as they get bigger. It's a natural part of their progression. What these researchers found was some of these fish in the rivers they were studying weren't changing to male, they were staying female. I think that's the way around it was. Mm-hmm. And so they then said, well, why is this happening? And what they found was when they tested the water, there was actually chemicals in the water that were mimicking estrogen. So the fish were receiving these messages, artificial messages, as it were, telling them not to change, and their natural biological process wasn't happening. And they found that these chemicals in the river were actually coming from factories upstream that were producing plastic. Really? So that's the first time I've heard about it. And, that, like I said, that was 20 years ago or so. When you hear something like that, you can't unhear it, and so, you naturally, when you hear more about it over time in different articles and so on, I guess you take a bit of notice. And there's actually a US government website, I can't remember which one, but it's related to health. If you Google endocrine disruptors, there's a lot of information about it, and actually a video that plays on the website where scientists talk about their findings and their concerns about plastic leaching these endocrine disruptors into the food chain. And then also this part, which is getting a lot of publicity now, about the litter and trash entering our oceans. And the thing with plastic is it never disappears. It just breaks up into smaller and smaller particles until they end up microscopic. The tiny little krill and other fish or species that fish eat absorb this stuff, and then it gets into the fish, and then that fish gets eaten by a bigger fish, and eventually we end up eating that
we
fish.
Do too, yeah.
But this part of it is one of the reasons. So there's two reasons why we avoid plastic. One is the actual litter problem itself and the short life cycle often of plastic products. And the second part is these concerns around health. And we're not scientists, we are not the place to come to find out about that. There's plenty of knowledge available out there. But we just thought, hey, if we're going to make a product, why don't we make it as healthy and as durable as we can? So we sort of have an approach with our brand that we'll only use products that we're comfortable, as healthy as can be and as natural as can be and as recyclable. Now, while stainless steel is clearly not natural, you don't dig stainless steel out of the ground. It comes from iron ore, and they add other natural occurring minerals to it to give it that rust-resistant properties. So, and we've had laboratories do testing both in the US and in the UK there's different laws in different countries. We've had them tested, and some of that testing, they actually put the stainless steel through heat cycles. So they'll heat it up, the fluid in it, and keep it hot for an extended period of time, and then test to make sure it's not transferring anything into the food and drink. So we like that aspect that it's a very stable product.
So you guys have a fun and functional way for households to tell their mugs apart with what you call literal colors. Could you tell us a little bit about what that is and how you came up with the idea, instead of like actually making the mugs different colors, that you made literal colors and you guys do some etching into the mugs?
Sure thing, yeah. That was Jason's brilliant idea again. I think it comes from stainless steel is stylish and sleek, but when you hold two stainless steel mugs up side by side and you're in a collective group, you can't tell, short of getting a marker and writing their name on, right. You can't tell one from the other. So Jace had this brilliant idea to put them into pairs of colours, so purple and orange and red and green and pink and blue and black and white and rose and teal. So we haven't got the name on them, like, so there you go. As a colour. So, and that sort of started, we did the first lot of our product launch. It was March of 2016. So this is a bit later in the year, and he just had this kind of idea, like, we, laser the name on, like it's white laser, so, and it's chemical free, which was also important to us. All different ways to laser things onto mugs. It can include making very dark. You might have seen things that have been lasered onto stainless steel mugs and they're very dark. So we wanted that sort of subtle look. So that's where that came from, and it's, working out whose mug is whose, and a bit of fun. It's a bit of a quirky thing. So if someone hasn't really noticed and they've been drinking and talking, which often you do when you're in a group and you're not really paying much attention to what your mug says, and then the host might say, do you have the green mug or the pink mug? And they'll be like, what? They're grey, they're stainless steel. And then, so that's sort of been quite a bit of fun over the years. We've had some hilarious reviews from people who've told stories, having those conversations with people, and they're like, what are you talking about? It's just grey. It's not, and then there's this little word that's got purple or,
Yeah.
So we had to choose a font that we liked, and we had to, so it just became this kind of fun thing, and it's just kept going all these years. People still love them, and the new handle, of course, is now part of that. So people, we've improved that. So we've still got the same laser etching on them, but they've still got them in pairs, and we dropped one colour combination off, but we kept the other 5 that I just mentioned, and that's been a really cool, fun, quirky thing, and practical when you're in a big group. And if we've had someone buy all of them, so they've got all 10. One lady has all hanging in her RV on little hooks. There's all 10 colours. And it's a fantastic photo. People send us photos of how they use them and where they are. We love that. We love, as Jay says, we love seeing it out in the wild. Whatever your wild is, it could be a backyard, it could be up. Someone's taken our mugs up El Capitan, carabined it onto their backpack, and that was a 7-day thing, and that just blows my mind. And they've got a photo of them holding it out, and they're on, on this tiny little ledge, and there's this incredible view of Yosemite Valley, and here's our humble little mug halfway up this iconic,
cliff face.
Yeah. Amazing. So, and that's actually got, I think that gentleman had purple and green.
Yeah.
It's probably fun to see.
One of the reviews that stands out in their minds is a guy said they were sitting around their campfire and they were going through the philosophy of when is a colour or not a colour, because it's just the word purple or the word green, but it's a green mug or it's a purple mug, So, yeah. It's a bit of fun, we enjoy having a bit of fun as well. So, it's brought a bit of interest over the years.
And the literal, that was Jason's, literally. How literally do you take that? And
people with boats or yachts, we quite often see them buying the red and green, because they're the colours for port and starboard. So people interpret those colours how they want to, which is great. Other people will buy, they might just like the colour of one of the mugs, and because we sell them as a set, they'll buy them, and because that's the colour of their favourite football team, baseball team.
So those would be, I was going to say stock colors, but I guess it's really stock etching in a sense. What about, so at the RVE Summit, these mugs that we received there, actually say hashtag RVE Summit, and there's a photo or an etching of the RV with the mountains in the background. How does that come about? Because this isn't something that you guys would stock. So how does somebody place an order like that and have that done?
We call that co-branding. Essentially, we provide our mug, it has our little squirrel logo on the bottom and our website details on the bottom so that people can always contact us for warranty purposes and so on. And we have sort of two brands, I guess. We have our Better For Your brand, and then we have Squirrel Cups, which is the way we sort of segment that custom order part of the business. We're not set up to do really small volumes, so we're not set up to do ones and twos. We just don't have the business model, the efficiencies to make that work. But we certainly do relatively small volumes. We'll do maybe as low as 50 or so.
Okay. And
that's ideal for people who have events or want something for swag for their company. In limited circumstances, people might want to do a mixture of both. So they'll use the product in their restaurant, and then they may also want to have it for sale at their restaurant. So we are really just exploring what that looks like. We've done a bit of it for different people over the years, and we're excited about that opportunity, the flexibility that lasering can give you to impart your brand on the side of the mug. We have some constraints about the size that lasering can be. So sometimes, like if we take the RV Entrepreneur design, Heath and Alyssa will send us the design that is on their T-shirts that they have as part of their swag. We modify that to suit the dimensions of the cup and make sure that it's clean and clear. So for that, an example, for this year's summit, we took out some of the detail that was on the T-shirt because it was a little bit too crowded.
So is the laser etching being completed at the same factory that the mug is being created, or is it being shipped somewhere else for the laser etching to be done?
We currently do it all as one process.
Okay.
That's the very last thing that happens, but prior to packing.
How'd you come up with the squirrel?
It's a interesting thing that we don't have squirrels in Australia. We have a lot of amazing animals, kangaroos, as you know. Down in Tasmania, there's the Tasmanian devil that you probably saw in the cartoons as a kid. Yep. And we have koala bears and different things, but we don't have squirrels. But we grew up with a lot of American television, American books and so on. And so obviously knew what squirrels were. When I first went to America and after the conference I was at, we went out and got into some national parks, started to see squirrels. I was just fascinated. They're cute little guys, and they run around and do what they do, and they collect food and store it and, preserve for the winter. And that sort of aligns with our brand philosophy, just of thinking ahead and planning for the future and things that last. And then we dug into it a little bit more when we were really settling on what our logo would be, and we read more about squirrels and the fact that scientists believe that squirrels have planted far more trees than people have because they bury their nuts, but they don't remember where they all are. So a lot of the acorns and so on actually turn into trees. And so because we are an eco-friendly brand, we have it in our core personal beliefs and our brand beliefs. There was an alignment there, and it's also distinctive. It's when you have a brand, it's good to have something that is memorable. And so that very basic stylized squirrel shape is easy to remember. And then the colour green, once again, aligns with that general eco-branding, and also our cardboard boxes. We ship everything in a cardboard box that is made in such a way that it all folds together. And so we don't use glue on the seam. There's no glued seams on the box or anything. It all just folds from a big flat bit of cardboard with a particular style of cutout into the finished box. And we don't colour that box. It's just its natural cardboard colour. And so the green stood out quite well on that as well. So those sorts of things came together, and that's how we ended up with our squirrel.
Yeah, you guys really do put a lot of thought into these things. Just the cardboard box that I didn't even notice that there was no glue, that it was all folded and fit together on its own.
we wanted the box to be reusable and recyclable if necessary, and compostable, which it is.
Yeah.
We call it compost over here. Do you have compost?
Compost?
Compost. Yeah,
compost. Probably the long O, yes. And,
we say it just a little differently, that's all.
We do, yes. I just want to make sure that
thing.
Yeah, your listeners will understand what I'm talking about. But and we have no plastic around the mug inside. A lot of our competitors have their the mug in a plastic bag inside a box, which we don't do that. We've made the box cardboard thick enough and strong enough to be able to withstand the rigours of Amazon, shooting it around the country like they do. And, and in fact, I've taken it to our, it's called Australia Post over here, which is similar to your UPS. USP.
Yep.
Sorry. And, and they just said to me they could actually send it as it is. They wouldn't even need to sticky tape it because it's called frustration-free packaging, so it pushes in like it does, like that flap pushes in, but it's lovely and strong. And
it's easy to undo, hence no frustration.
No frustration.
Yeah,
well, that's the plan. Hopefully it's not too hard. But obviously you have to stick stickers on. The sticker has to go on to give it, can't just be sticker-free. So, but we've tried to make it as plastic-free as we can to align with our values. And with our tumbler range, when they come in sets of 2 for our 16-ounce, the big tumblers, and sets of 3 for the smaller 8-ounce. And we have just bamboo tissue paper in between them to stop them from rubbing when they're being shipped, because obviously they're going across the sea or maybe through the air and then they're coming into America. So we've tried to think of all the things where there could be those rubbing and banging and clunking points, but that we could do it without having to put plastic in, because that plastic will literally just go straight in the bin. It's unlikely that people would use that for anything else. But we're hoping people might use the box. Maybe they've got something to send someone, or they've got some trinkets, or maybe it could be coins, hold your spare coins or something.
At the very least, you can use it to start your fire at the campsite.
That's right. You can.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's good.
Or you have s'mores. That's very important. I had my first s'mores last time I was in America. That was fantastic.
You just mentioned the tumbler. Sabrina and I recently purchased the tumblers, and we really like the tumblers too for the cold drinks. I like it for my beer, to be honest.
We made them just for you, mate.
They're perfect for beer. So when you guys are coming up with new ideas like the tumblers in that size, are you getting those ideas from your customers, or is this something that you guys are just like, I would like to see this. We should make it and see if people will buy it, or is it, which way does that go? Yeah,
it's a bit of both, actually. We very much what we would like to use ourselves, because that's really important, and also listening to our customers. And over the years, we did the 8-ounce ones first, and then people just kept coming back and back saying, make them bigger. You need to be bigger. Can you make 12? Yeah. Or could do 16? We even have some people ask for 20-ounce. We're like, what would you put in a 20-ounce? People, amazing. But we've had people tell us that they put ice cream in their tumblers. Probably not the 16-ounce one, but certainly the small one. And the small one is certainly pitched towards parents, because parents are really very much getting a lot more on board about plastic-free for their children. So we, have been parents ourselves. We were trying to think of ways that we could produce a product that would stand up to the rigours of being, tossed off a high chair and slamming on the floor. And we've had some parents saying what a relief it is that these things just go bounce, 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 and you pick them up and they're fine. And, so because kids, if they're going to road test something, they will absolutely road test it. They're pretty tough. So, and even if it gets a bit of a dent or a bump or a scratch, you can still use it. So that was really important to us. So our ideas came from Jason being so clever with just that forward thinking and that visionary idea, and then listening to our customers. And Amazon's brilliant for that. They're just, it's fantastic. It's immediate and it's real, and people are telling you what they think. And it was, very, very important that we listened.
Yeah, and we also we looked at the existing stainless steel cup market, the tumbler market, and when we bought out our 8-ounce tumbler for mainly for kids, but also for people who just like, say spirits or, small drinks that you drink in small quantities.
Like espresso.
Espresso, coffee, that sort of thing. There was mainly single wall tumblers. So that, as the name suggests, is just one thickness, one layer of stainless steel. And so when you put a cold drink in it, it's cold in your hand. You put a hot drink in it, you'll actually burn your hand. And so we developed this understanding, this knowledge around double wall manufacture, and it made sense to make our tumblers double wall. And once again, we made that deliberate decision that it wasn't going to be a travel mug. It was going to be a tumbler that you use when you want to have a drink. So at parties, around campfires, at home, in the office, wherever you'd like to drink, whether it's a beer or just a glass of water. So that process for the kids, there wasn't any real need met in the market for a double wall tumbler. There was some double wall more aimed at that espresso market, and there was some thick wall, single wall, but most of them have that rolled wall. If you go on Amazon, look at tumblers, you'll see the single wall have the top rim rolled under. When we read the reviews of other brands about those products, a lot of people didn't like the fact that it can trap food, and if they put them in the dishwasher, the water from the dishwasher gets caught in that rim. So that we knew we could improve on that with our double wall. Doesn't have anywhere like that. It's seamless. So then, as Rose said, we made the small ones and people really liked them. And because we're self-funded, Rose and I invest in this company ourselves, our growth tends to be steady. We don't go out and launch a heap of products at once, because every time we launch a product it requires a significant amount of capital. We're very purposeful about what products we release and when we release them. So it was great to get to the point where we could release the 16-ounce, and that probably was a year from when we made the decision to when we finally got it on the market.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now that my eyes have been open to the mug, was there a lot of designing that went into the 16-ounce tumbler compared to the smaller sizes, or were you just able to take that smaller size and blow it up?
Yeah, essentially we were able to do that, to scale it up. One of the things when we designed the 8-ounce, they do stack. Now, being double wall, they stack with maybe 1.25 inches from the rim of the one below to the rim of the one above. The thickness of the wall makes them protrude a little bit at the top. But they do stack, which is great for storage. But when you stack things like that, and once again, we learnt this by studying the existing tumblers on the market. People would often say, when they stack, they get stuck together and I can't pull them apart. If you're driving around an RV and it's vibrating, obviously it's going to tend to bed one tumbler into the other. Part of that design process, I looked at the angles of the inner and outer wall and very, very subtly changed them so that they don't tend to bind. So we just took that learning and applied it in a bigger scale. Also spent time on the mouthfeel of the big tumbler because the diameter of the rim is different. It has a different feel in your mouth. And so once again, we put time into that.
Okay.
Put time into the subtle change of shape on the outside because, when you take a drink, you don't want that dribble to roll down from where your lip was, So
not early in the night anyway.
This is the science behind cup design. It's a bit goes into it.
Will we see any other types of products coming from you guys in the near future, or are you focused just on the mugs and tumblers and drinking accessories, I guess, now?
Yeah, look, we are certainly focused on drinkware. We would like to do what we do as best we can, and when you diverge out and do more than one thing, all of that learning and knowledge and skill we've developed around drinkware, we'd have to replicate that into another product and go again. And so we probably will do that at some stage, but for the foreseeable future, it's about drinkware.
And you guys are doing it really well. These are the best mugs that I've ever owned, so I love it. So keep it up.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
No lie, every time we record a podcast, Kenny has his Better For Your mug in his hand.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well,
wow, that made my day.
Well, when you live in the RV, we don't have a lot of things. So I actually donated all of our ceramic mugs and everything that we had before. So this is my mug.
Oh, so great. Well, we're aware of the space issues in RVs and camper vans and obviously fifth wheelers. And so I think finding a multi-use product for us that people could, people, as I said, they put ice cream in them and smoothies and kombucha and every other possible thing, you can think of. We've seen people give them to their children with other things in, like, M&Ms or, it's got a handle so the little person can hold the handle and just, So, there's so many different ways that you can so many things you can do with them. So that is important to us because then it's multi-use.
So where can people find your mugs? I know Amazon is one place. How else can they order them or follow you guys on social media?
So for most people to buy them, Amazon's the best place. If you want to buy some for personal use, have it delivered in a couple of days, Amazon's fantastic for that. If people are interested in custom orders, either for their business or an event, it could be a wedding, whatever they would like to have their personal brand or their company brand on, then they're better off reaching out to us via our website. We have a contact us form there, or email us at support@betterforyou.com. So there are a few ways to get in contact with us for those more customised orders. But for most people, Amazon's the place. And as far as social media goes, we have a Facebook page. Where else are we? Instagram. Yeah. And Kelsey Henry looks after Pinterest for us, so we're on Pinterest as well.
Oh, okay.
We'll
be able to. We can add all those things to our show notes.
Yes, we know that. That's great. Yeah.
Before we let you guys go, is there anything that you think that we might have missed or that you would like to add?
Probably one thing that we'd love to share with people is we went through a lot of effort to make sure people understood that when they get our product, that it does require a little bit of TLC at the beginning to get it set up for you to be able to use. So we recommend that the mug is soaked in a vinegar and water wash. So hand wash it or dishwasher. We generally recommend you hand wash. The instructions are all in our little insert. Hand wash it thoroughly and then soak it in vinegar and water for a few hours at the minimum. Overnight's a good idea. And then hand wash again or run in the dishwasher and it's set to go. Stainless steel is a fantastically durable product, but of course lots of things have happened to that mug before it lands in your lap, either via Amazon or however you come up, it was a gift or however you get it. So the instructions are in all the boxes, and we recommend it. Actually, Jazz probably might be able to describe it better. There's a quite, it's not scientific, but it's just a process that we use, we think helps to cure the stainless steel quickly.
As Rose said, the first part is the hand wash just with regular detergent. That just cleans the mud thoroughly after production. Then the second part is the vinegar soak, and so you put, what would you say, about quarter of a cup per cup.
Because you might come in sets of 2 or 3. So
in vinegar, warm to hot water, and immerse the mug in it. And what happens is some people are sensitive to the nickel in stainless steel, and so they'll get a metallic taste. Not everybody, but some people. So what this process does is essentially the vinegar slightly acidic and it reacts with the surface of the stainless steel and essentially ages it. So as if you just left it on the shelf for several months, it will do that within a few hours. And in the industry, it's called pickling. So it's essentially a recognised process to change that immediate surface on the stainless steel, and that way you avoid that metallic taste for people who are sensitive to it. So we recommend everyone do it. It doesn't take long to do, and vinegar's readily available, and it's a natural product. So, and then the second wash is just, freshen it up after the vinegar soak, and you're good to go.
Okay.
And that does a really good job. And you can see the little bubbles forming on the outside of the mug as it's soaking, and you know that process is happening. And then sometimes for the really people who love really strong tea, the tannin in tea, and obviously coffee can leave stains, but just bicarb and vinegar are absolutely brilliant.
Baking soda,
are brilliant at bringing your mug back up like the day you got it. So we've done that ourselves.
Okay.
You just put and if you've got small children in the house, it's fun too, as long as you're doing it in a controlled thing, because you can put the baking soda in the bottom and pour the vinegar on top, and we know what's going to happen because it rises up, and just let it sit there. And you can always top it up with a bit of water too. And it literally you just leave it for a few hours overnight if you want, and just wipe it out with a soft cloth, and it just comes up like brand new. And that mirror finish on the inside definitely helps to prolong that time in between. But some people are very refined. It's a very serious business making a hot drink. So some people like to spill it out with a bit of water, and some people like to wash the whole thing again. Some people won't use it more than once without it going through the dishwasher. But some people just aren't too fussy. But what will happen, of course, is that you will get a bit of a build-up of lines of, the level of where you where it sat for the longest. You'll get that ring. Of course you will. You'll get that in ceramic. So baking soda and vinegar is brilliant at that. So we just wanted to share that little tip with our anybody who might be interested to know. And I use those two things to clean this, where we live. Don't use any chemicals out of anything that we buy. We don't buy anything. We just use those all the time for ourselves. Water and baking soda and vinegar is the best way to go, we find.
And on a parallel note to that, a lot of people aren't aware that chlorine products are actually a bit like kryptonite for stainless steel. So Clorox products like that are fantastic for a lot of things, but you should avoid using them on stainless steel. And that goes for stainless steel in your RV or around your house. It actually reacts and can cause rust. So particularly if, say, you've used a metal scouring pad and there'll be tiny fragments of that metal left behind, that creates a weak point essentially. And so, avoid chlorine-based products.
Yeah, I've always found the mug actually to be very easy to clean. Even for me, I'm not, I'm a mess. So very easy. In fact, I think we'll post a picture of my actual mug after a whole year, and I think people will be surprised just how brand new it still looks.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, we'll do that.
You tested it very well. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, Jason and Rose, this has been quite an education for me. I mean, I really appreciate now the quality of this mug a lot more, knowing what you guys have put into it over the years. So just incredible the amount of work that you guys have done to make such a great product.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, we really love the opportunity to share that journey with you and your listeners, and we hope that for people that either already have our product or choose to get it, that they really have some wonderful moments in the coming years enjoying their favourite beverage, wherever they drink it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this. It's been lovely to talk to you both. Thank you.
It's been great. Thank you.
We want to thank Jason and Rose for that insightful and well-detailed journey of how their company came about. I think Sean and I were very surprised to hear how much effort goes into their drinkware and really enjoyed to hear the passion for their products and the planet. This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries, the best name in the RV and marine industry. These lithium batteries are designed and assembled in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. The best solution for your battery anxiety. So go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.